If you've clicked on this video, it might be because you think your partner's doing something a little bit wacky. Hi, it's Gabrielle, and in this video, I'm going to tell you how to know if you are being gaslit and what to do about it. For over 12 years, I've been a licensed professional counselor and relationship expert in private practice in Boulder, Colorado. And my practice is grounded in the science of what makes relationships work. I'm going to teach you the signs that you're being gaslit and how relationship abuse can be much more subtle than you might think. If you like the relationship advice and dating advice that you're learning here, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel right now. Just click on the subscribe button right here. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like, and please go to thepowercoupleformula.com and powercoupleseducation.com for lots more information about how to build an amazing relationship. Are you having a hard time trusting your perceptions of what's happening in your relationship and asking yourself, am I going crazy? Maybe you feel that your partner is doing and saying things only to be told later that you're making it all up in your head. You may feel confused, depressed, or worthless in your relationship, and you may be second-guessing yourself all the time. You may be wondering what on earth is going on. You may be wondering, am I crazy? Did I really say that? Didn't this thing just happen? Can I trust my own eyes anymore? Gaslighting is a form of relationship abuse in which the offender gains power and control over their victim by psychologically manipulating them and causing them to question their thoughts, feelings, sanity, value, and perception of reality. You may not know where the term gaslighting came from, but interestingly enough, it came from a 1938 play by a man named Patrick Hamilton called Gaslight. It was later made into a movie several times, and one of those was the 1944 version with Ingrid Bergman. Just a little piece of trivia there. You've probably heard the term gaslighting all over the internet and wondered, where does this come from? Well, here's the story of the play, which is really interesting. The story is about a man who murders a woman and then ends up accidentally getting involved with the woman's niece. And they get married and end up living in the murdered woman's house, where the guy is trying to steal the murdered woman's jewels. So he's having to go up into the attic and look around for these jewels, and he has to lower the lights in the house because back then they used gas for lighting. So he has to lower the lights in the house in order to be able to turn the lights on in the attic. And his wife keeps noticing that the lights are going off in the evenings, like they're getting dimmer and dimmer. And she mentions it to her husband, and he's like, no, the lights are the same as they've always been, honey. I don't know what you're talking about. And he says, it's all in your head. I don't know what you're talking about. So she starts to think she's losing her mind. Other strange things start happening too, like pictures are disappearing off the wall, and some of her own jewelry disappears. And when she confronts her husband about these things, he just says that she's the one who's going insane. What she doesn't know is that his plan is to have her declared insane, sent to an asylum so that he can get power of attorney over her and he can continue to steal even more stuff from the house. In the end, the guy's evil intentions are found out, and the woman is able to stop questioning her sanity and break free from their toxic relationship. This story is a compelling example of the kind of psychological manipulation that can happen in relationships, that the guy was turning down the gas lights in the house and then saying it wasn't true. What makes gaslighting different from other forms of abuse is that it's done under the table. Unlike overt forms of abuse, like physical or sexual abuse, gaslighting by definition is covert emotional abuse. Now, we don't use gas for lighting anymore, but here's what psychological gaslighting means in the modern world. Gradually breaking down the victim by making them feel that their ideas, thoughts, feelings, and perceptions have no value. Isolating the victim or cutting them off from external sources of information that could cause the victim to call the offender's perspective into question. Making the victim feel worthless. Denying the victim's experience of actual events that have occurred. Or withholding information that would counter the offender's position. Part of why gaslighting is so powerful is because it tends to happen gradually over time, making it much harder to detect. For instance, it could start with the offending partner making jokes, putting down the victim, putting down their intelligence or their sanity, and then over time this could develop into more severe forms of belittling them and separating them from anyone who disagrees with the offender. So for example, maybe you notice that there's been a big withdrawal from your mutual checking account, and your husband comes home with a brand new motorcycle and then says to you, well, we talked about that. We talked about me getting that motorcycle. Don't you remember? When actually you never had any kind of conversation about it at all. So that's how it can start, questioning an event or your recollection of something. Studies show that over time, gaslighting can lead to other forms of abuse, including physical abuse. Gaslighting is an offender behavior that is often associated with domestic violence, and it's also connected to offenders who have personality disorders like narcissistic personality disorder and psychopathic personality disorder. Here are some of the ways that you might experience gaslighting if you're on the receiving end of it. You might find yourself frequently apologizing to the offender and defending their behavior to other people. You might find yourself withdrawing from other people. You might find yourself second-guessing yourself, doubting your own perceptions, your memory, and your mental health. You might be feeling depressed, worthless, and anxious a lot of the time. And you might be feeling just bewildered and having difficulty making even the simplest of decisions. You might find that you're going over events repeatedly in your head and asking yourself, did I really remember that? Is that really what happened? So a lot of people find it useful to collect proof of events so that you have some kind of record of what's actually happened and you can confirm that you're not losing your mind. Taking photographs, making recordings, or talking to a trusted friend are all ways that you can reassure yourself that you're not imagining things. But you still may be wondering, am I being gaslighted? After all, the things that I experience in my relationship aren't as extreme as what Gabrielle's talking about. Gaslighting can be much more subtle. It can be as subtle as telling someone that they're losing their mind as they're getting older, or that they become overly emotional and don't see straight when they have their period, when really the offender is betraying their partner and concealing the evidence. Studies show that people who have affairs and are caught on the phone with their lovers will often outright deny that they were talking to their lover on the phone, even when their partner heard them making a secret plan with their lover to meet. The first reaction of many offending partners in the case of an affair is to accuse the victim of being crazy and making up the affair in their head, and that is a form of gaslighting. Maybe everything I'm saying is really starting to ring a bell for you and bring up questions in your mind. This could be very anxiety provoking to reflect on the fact that you might be the victim of gaslighting. So it's important to know how to get free. Just like with all abuse, if you think this is what's going on, it's important that you take responsibility for not participating in the abuse. It's a choice to believe the offender, to put your trust in them and give them power over your life and allow them to control you like that. The abuser is looking for control over your life and can only function when you allow this to occur. It's important to consider that this may be what's going on and that maybe you have been too trusting and kind of sweeping all the evidence under the rug. If you ever feel that your partner is trying to isolate you from people you care about and from your community, that is a red flag that they're trying to gain control over your life. If they're constantly calling into question what you see, what you remember, and they're belittling you, calling you crazy and making you think that you don't know what you're talking about, you are most likely in a gaslighting situation. If you've only had 1 or 2 dates with this person, then it's time to run for the hills. But if you're married and this is what you think is going on, then you're going to have to make a more elaborate plan. That means talking to friends or trusted resources where you can get a third-party perspective on what's going on. It might mean talking to a financial advisor or an attorney to figure out how you're going to be able to remove yourself from this situation. The best thing is if you and your partner can go to couples therapy and a third party can actually look at the situation and weigh in on whether they think you are being gaslit or not. But many partners who are offenders are obviously not going to be willing to go to couples therapy because they don't want to be found out. So if you've done everything you can and all signs point to the fact that you're in a gaslighting relationship, it's time to get out. But remember that because gaslighters are manipulative and think strategically, it's important that you get out in a safe way and that you have a plan that protects both you and your financial situation. The bottom line is that if this is what you suspect is going on, don't be naive. Get competent professional help and figure out what it is that you need to do to move forward safely. Now I'd like to hear from you. Please leave me your comment below if you have experience getting free from gaslighting and what you did in order to break free. And I'll look forward to reading your comments and seeing you in the next video.